fancy you coming to see me, isn't it marvellous? And look here, if anyone came in while I was on before, don't go dashing out, it's very rude and I shall feel such a fool. See what I mean? Well now folks, by way of a start, I must tell you, as I was coming up in the train here this morning, excuse me laughing, but I know what's coming. But as I was coming up in the train, you see, there was a fellow sitting opposite to me, up in the corner, in the opposite corner to me, and all the way up to town, up as far as Euston, he was going... So I said to him, are you feeling all right? He said, yes. I said, well, what's the idea of this business? He said, well, I haven't got anything to read and I haven't brought me knitting with me. I'm just telling myself a few funny stories. I said, oh, yes, and what's the idea of this? He said, well, I've heard them. That may not be funny, but it's clean. Well, now, folks, I'm going to sing for you a little song written for me by my grandfather. I don't know whether you know, but we Askeys are a very, very musical family. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was the original crooner with Oliver Cromwell's Hot Rhythm Boys. Yes, and then there's my brother. Now, my brother was a very, very clever musician. He was what they call a doodler in a quartet. I don't know whether you know what a doodler is, but there were four men used to stand forward in evening dress, you see, and my brother, he was the doodler, he was on the end, and these three fellas used to sing, Diner. Is there anyone finer? Doodle-oodle-oodle-oo. That was him, the doodler, on the corner, you see. He didn't get much money, but he liked it. Well, now, folks, I'm going to sing you a little song. Oh, there's a seat here, madam. Don't stand. Come on, make yourself at home. All right? This is a very funny little song. Well, I think so. And I entitle it The Moth. Don't look for a minute. You can have your birds, you can have your bees, but to me they're simply froth. For the thing I'd really like to be is not a bird or a flower or a bee or a fish or a camel or a jumping flea, but a moth, a little moth, fluttering round the candle, frightened to go near, singeing of your chassis and feeling very queer, or bashing out your brains against a chandelier like a moth, a little moth. Oh, light and airy, just like a fairy, chewing up yards of cloth. But think of the joys and the fun me boys enjoyed by a flighty, quite all righty. Just had a nibble off a lady's nighty, non-stop nibbling moth. You can have your ham, you can have your lamb, you can have your chicken broth. But the things off which I like to dine are a little bit of fur or creepy chine, or some red flannelette from an homemade spine like a moth, a little moth. Bringing up a family, remembering it's due to tell them what they must do and what they mustn't do, to choose what they must chew and what they must eschew, like a moth, a little moth. Oh, light and airy, just like a fairy, chewing up yards of cloth. But think of the joys and the fun me boys enjoyed by a daring, drinking, swearing, don't care a damn for bits of camphor, non-stop nibbling moth. You can shout till your horse on your big golf course, it arouses all my wrath. They do 9 holes, then they all get tight, but to nestle in a dressing gown pure and white and do 18 holes in the middle of the night, that's a moth, a little moth. Yet upon occasion life must be a curse. Imagine for a moment, could anything be worse than being found dead inside a Scotsman's purse like a moth, a little moth. Oh, oh, piano's out of tune. Whoa, light and airy, just like a fairy, chewing up yards of cloth. But think of the end without a friend, of a crashed up, smashed up, crushed up, bust up, squashed on the floor and finally brushed up. Who the heck wants to be a moth? I nibble whatever may come my way. I nibble all night and I nibble all day. But think of the joys and the fun we boys enjoyed by a flighty, quite all righty, going to have a nibble off a lady.